So last week we talked about being a light to this world and what exactly that means. So if you haven't seen last week's video, I would suggest you go check it out. I will link it down in the description below, and I'll also link it up in this little I button over here. Last week I also mentioned that there's some things that can get in the way of our light and make our lights look a little bit dimmer. So what are some of those things? So after we make the decision to act differently than the world and follow what God wants, we have to make sure to stay away from things that are going to make our light look a little dimmer or get in the way of our light. Now this idea isn't exclusively to me. I didn't come up with it originally. I was actually inspired by a devotional plan. So if you want more information about the devotional or to read more into it, I will link that down in the description below. But for now, I just wanted to share a quote that inspired this. The quote from the devotional says, "When believers refuse to openly confess Jesus because of fear, when we refuse to honor him in our personal conduct, when we refuse to align our own desires with his, our light becomes dimmer and dimmer." Unfortunately, there is a lot of things that can get in the way of our light and make our light look a little dimmer, because anything that's going to make our light look dimmer is just going to be anything that's in opposition to God or is opposite of what God wants. So an example of this that made sense in my head, and hopefully it makes sense in yours also, is if you just look at even just the small list of the fruits of the Spirit, anything in opposition to that is going to make our light look a little dimmer. Now, as I said, there is a ton of things that we deal with that make our light look dimmer, so this is just a small little list, and I know that we all have our own individual struggles, so this isn't an exclusive list or anything, but hopefully it just kind of makes a little bit of sense. So taking the fruits of the Spirit, for example, love is covered by hate. Joy is covered by misery. Peace covered by anxiety. Impatience covers patience. Selfishness covers kindness. Wickedness gets in the way of goodness. Faithfulness is covered by disloyalty. Gentleness is covered by brutishness, and instead of exercising self-control, it's covered by being out of control. So I don't know about you, but I can say definitely that I do struggle with some of these things, and sometimes I do feel that my light gets covered by these things, and not even just these things, but I know there's other things that I deal with on my own that I know I do in opposite of what God wants to do, and it is difficult. It's not easy. But as we talked about last week, nothing is impossible with God. So if you're struggling just like I am, we just have to remember that he knows that we're going through this. We just have to go to him with our problems, give them over to him, and let him take care of it. So just remember to keep working at it, keep praying, keep leaning on God.